And that's where God was correcting me because I literally was mad. I was letting the control spirit into my life because I wasn't getting my way.
Mhm.
Things weren't being done in my way, in my organized way. And it really didn't matter. It was an earthly issue that became a heavenly issue when I turned it into sin.
Hey there, welcome to the God's Goodness Podcast. We are your hosts, Josh and Shelley Hankins, and we're here to share real stories of God's power, stories of hope, healing, and miracles that will strengthen your faith. No matter what you're walking through, we want to remind you that God is good and He's still moving today. Let's dive in. This episode is for the wife who loves God but feels something in her marriage is quietly off. Not explosive, just distance, disappointment, or unmet expectations that never had space to be addressed. Today is part 1, created especially for wives. Part 2 will be for husbands. Together, these conversations bring restoration for anyone who wants a healthier marriage. We're welcoming Heather O'Brien back from the Heal with God podcast to walk you through where restoration actually begins and the spirit-led steps that help rebuild a marriage with greater clarity, connection, and hope. Thank you so much for being back with us, Heather.
Yeah, I'm so excited. This is going to be such a great conversation.
Mm-hmm. Before we get into it, would you say a brief prayer over our episode and audience?
Yeah. God, we just thank you for this day. We welcome your presence, King Jesus. We thank you for what you're about to do. I'm just excited and coming expectant for the conversation that's going to release the power and a spirit of revelation for us to not just have more knowledge, but to transform our life. We ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you for that. Now, something I've noticed in conversations with women is how often disappointment goes unspoken. Not because anything is falling apart, but because it's hard to know what to do with it. When you think about marriage, where do you most often see God inviting wives to pause, notice, or respond differently before disappointment quietly shapes the relationship?
I mean, I have been there where disappointment was definitely heavy. So I've been married 23 years, by the way. And so I come with experience, but also having helped many couples. And disappointment often, maybe we just need to define that for just a minute, but and then I'll talk about like why you would want to maybe pause. But disappointment kind of comes in whenever we're comparing our current experience to what we thought would happen, an expectation of some kind.
Yeah, it's often romanticized, the happily
Mhm.
ever after, but then they don't ever tell about what happens after the wedding.
Yeah, and it could be a fantasy from even like a movie, a TV show. But also, I have seen it where there was some really loud disappointment whenever the spouse didn't look like how they grew up with their parents. For instance, my mom always would cook and clean. You're not doing that. Now, that's from the husband's perspective. But from the wife's perspective, I've seen it the same way. And your question was like, how do we like deal with that disappointment before it gets really loud? Is that kind of what you were asking? Like,
Mm-hmm.
so when it's quiet is the best time to deal with it because it's just arriving. It's like knocking on your door. And when it's loud, it's explosive anger, basically.
Yeah.
But when it's quiet and it's knocking at your door, some of the best steps is hopefully you're hearing this message now and you're like right in that moment. And here's the thing is you have to realize what disappointment is. Disappointment according to what? What are you comparing, that's going on in your life to this thing that you hoped would happen? And is it realistic? Was it compared to someone else? Was it compared to a TV show? Is it something that God showed you? Because that's awesome. And sometimes we could be disappointed because it hasn't happened yet, even though God showed us. And that's when we have to get back in line and say, God, you said this, but maybe I put my timeline on it. Maybe I put my how on it. Because it could be a mixture of both, right? Because sometimes I have had a word from the Lord. I'm like, God, this is not happening.
Mhm.
Right. But at the same time, it could have been something that I engineered myself as a fantasy. And so to deal with that is like the first step would just be like recognizing what am I sensing? Why am I sensing or Where did it come from? What am I comparing against?
Be assessing.
Everything starts with God's voice. So we need to just assess the situation, basically, and hear God's voice through it. God, ask him some questions, you know? What God, where did this start? Where did disappointment start seeping into my heart?
I know a
What
lot of wives,
happened?
they want their husband to be more of a leader. Some of them that I know are into self-improvement, improving themselves. But then when their husband isn't doing that or, listening to podcasts or reading books or whatever, they have these expectations that he'll want to grow too. And then when they don't see that, they're like, oh, you know,
Mm,
and then
yeah.
maybe someone has, this has always gotten me in trouble, expectations. And then sometimes you don't even tell your spouse, hey, I was thinking this, this, and this. And then they didn't
Hmm.
even know.
Hmm.
And then
Yeah.
sometimes, one is growing towards Jesus and the other one could give two squats about
Hmm.
Jesus or not. Do whatever you want to
Yeah.
do. So there's
Right.
like all these different things that we have expectations of. We want it to go one way, but we just kind of have to give it to
Uh-huh.
God to work out the how.
And I think all of those things are really human, really reasonable, really normal. I guess I just want to normalize it. Like, you're not doing anything wrong by thinking, well, if I'm growing, you'd think he would grow too. I guess I want to actually encourage the listener in this point. If you are growing, you probably will help your spouse to grow eventually, but it will happen in a way that is maybe not tangible at first, maybe not a very big aha moment, like you're having an aha moment, but here's the thing, you will rub off on people,
Mhm.
and it does happen. So I give this example. I went through my healing journey apart from my husband. So it was while we were married, I started having an awareness of I'm in living in sin. I'm saying that now. That wasn't, necessarily what I was saying then, but I was having the awareness of my life could be a lot better. And as I was going through it, one thing that practically happened is I started making my bed every day. Did I already tell you this story before?
You said it in
I
a podcast, but I don't think it was on
Did
our
I?
show.
Oh, okay. So this is a
That's why
very
it sounds
normal
familiar
day,
too.
or it seems familiar. Well, I call it often because I think it's really powerful.
I like it.
In the spiritual world, I was cleaning myself up, but also in my house. I was learning how to clean my house, steward my house, steward my body. It was all simultaneous, not necessarily fast,
Mhm.
but I decided I was going to start making my bed, which simply meant pulling up covers. Let's get real. I mean, I don't have any like fancy pillows or anything. I just wanted to like make it look smoothed out.
Mhm.
And so I started pulling up my side of the bed. And I remember one day looking over and my husband had done it too. He had pulled up his covers too. And that right there was confirmation in my heart that, oh, it is influencing him. My healing is influencing him. I can't make him do anything. He didn't have any desire to do what I was doing. I was going to all these Jesus conferences. I was just so madly in love with Jesus. I still am. It never stopped. I was burning on fire. But guess what? I mean, the bed example is just an example of you do have influence over those you're around. And our marriage kept getting better and better because I kept getting better and better. And also, obviously, it did rub off on him. I can't tell you that it's exactly like he didn't have the same process though. He wasn't devouring spiritual books. He wasn't devouring spiritual podcasts. He wasn't going to all the conferences. But his life started changing and my life started changing. And it was different. But I guess I just want to encourage you that as you worry about you, you will be influential, but it might not look like you want. So that's where disappointment seeps in. It's like we put God in this box of if I'm reading all the podcasts and listening to them, then surely he would want that too. And that's just not true. He could care less about it.
Here's my take on it from the man side. And when I first met Shelly, I was definitely the spiritually motivated one. And
I was not seeking Jesus.
I think I bought one book in 15 years about Jesus or anything to do with spirituality and the Christian side. And she's has, I don't know, 20 something. And she, again, with her expectations, is expecting my journey to look like hers. And
Mhm.
we are one flesh according to scripture. We are still two different people. And what
Yep.
God is working on in her heart is not what God is working on in my heart. My journey
Yeah.
is separate from her journey on our individual side of it. And
Mm.
I could be fighting demons she knows nothing about, I could be challenging God with my thought process or my resistance to change in certain areas that she knows nothing about because it's my personal struggle. And I'm not sharing. It has nothing to do with the man or the husband or the wife, if the roles are reversed, not growing. It has everything to do with you don't know how God is challenging them. If they
That's a
love
good
Jesus,
point.
I promise you, God is challenging them in some way. They're not growing. I find often that I go out and meet God places, but Shelley usually is at home when God finds her there. Like
Mm,
it's like that's kind of the dynamic. And so I need to experience things in order for God to teach me things. And Shelley needs to absorb things in order for God to teach her things. We're two
oh,
different learning. I'm like the Montessori learning and she's the in-class study learning.
so good. Whoa, that's so powerful. I love that you said that we also have different learning patterns too. Wow, that's a good point. Love it.
You already know we only talk about things here that align with our values. That's why I partner with Live Good. They offer clean, high-quality wellness products. Think vitamins, superfood blends, magnesium, and more. All third-party tested, so I know exactly what I'm using. And the best part? The prices are actually affordable. It's not hype, it's just smart stewardship. And beyond the wellness side, there's opportunity too. People are earning income simply by sharing what they already use and believe in. It's simple, it's honest, and it's working for a lot of people. So if you've been looking for a wellness company that reflects your values and fits your lifestyle, this might be the nudge you need. Tap the link in our About section and explore Live Good for yourself. So after we assess, do you recommend a conversation be had, or what would you recommend someone do next after they assess the situation?
Well, I think the thing is to be in prayer, to ask God what's next. So we assess the situation, and maybe the next question is, God, what am I really believing about this? Because in a disappointment, you're believing something. You're believing maybe a time frame. You're believing things would look a certain way. Like I often think about the box. We put situations in a box. We put people in a box. If they're growing, then they would be doing this. And just like Josh said, that's not true. We're all going to do it, arrive at the same point differently. And so I would say the next question is, okay, I've assessed this situation. I am disappointed in this behavior or this thing not happening, but why? Why do I believe I should receive this? Why do I believe it should happen this way? Why do I believe this is the only way? What do I believe is the next question. And maybe even in your beliefs, like go one step deeper. What are you afraid of? Because disappointment is often rooted in, well, you're grieving an unmet expectation, but you might also have some fears. So, in your beliefs, are there any fears? Are you afraid that if he's not doing XYZ, then you're going to be further along and your marriage isn't going to work? Are you afraid that, oh, here's a good one, he's not going to imprint on your kids the way that you hoped he would? Are you're afraid for your generations to come because you're doing the work and he's not? It could be a lot of those things, right? So assessing your beliefs is the next step, and then assessing any fears attached to it. Because really, whatever you're meditating on, whatever you believe, you'll meditate on, and you think on it, and then you have faith in it, and then you act it out. So you believe, and you have faith, and then you act it out. It's always those three steps. Someone always starts with a belief, right or wrong, good or bad. You start with a belief, and then you put faith in it. Faith in it means you really believe it. You believe it more than you believe the truth, the word of God. You believe it more than, well, it could be the truth. It could be the word of God, right? Belief is what you stand on, what you'll die for. And then you act it out because you've meditated on it. So if you believe God should be first in your life, you'll have faith in that and you'll act it out. You'll put God first everywhere, in your finances, in your day. Everything you do will be about putting God first. But if you believe something else, then you're gonna act that out. Does that make sense?
Mhm. Yeah, and I don't think you should worry too much about the growth of your partner if you're trying to grow yourself. I
Yeah.
think you should keep your focus in your lane that you can control. Here's another one I just thought of is, what if your partner doesn't look like they're growing because they're already ahead of you? And you think that they're not doing what you're doing and they're not growing, but really you need to catch up on the spiritual side, right? So what it is it's a caution against assumptions, and don't
Yep.
assume your partner is lacking.
Mm.
Always look inward. Ask God to check
Mhm.
your heart, right? You
Mhm.
can't fix your spouse's heart. You can absolutely have God correct yours.
Yep. That's the ultimate.
Right. And you have no idea if your partner's already done that.
Right. I'm reminded of Joyce Meyer was talking about God was really dealing with her about something. And it was bad. He was convicting her. It was so much turmoil for her. And she went to her husband and said, "Is God been dealing with you about that?" And he said, "No, I'm fine. I'm good to go." And she was really mad that she had to, change her life, change her belief system, get better at this and that. And she went to God about it, which is what we got to do, right? And God said, "Well, he's not on the stage in front of millions and millions of people. You are." And that really hit home with me.
Mm-hmm.
We really have to remember, what is your assignment on this earth? Because your assignment is going to reflect how God's going to be dealing with you. Not that we all shouldn't have, good moral character. That's not what I'm saying. But the teachers, the scripture says teachers are going to be the ones that are actually held more accountable. And he wasn't teaching, she was. And so I was dealing with her differently. And so we have to remember that I remember that in my life because I'm the teacher and my husband, he's not teaching the Bible to people. He's not casting devils out of people, not regularly. That's not his job. Like, he has a job. I'm not saying, I hope you hear me. It's everyone's calling to follow out, and be disciples of Jesus. I'm saying, but this is what I do. This is what I'm called to do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be called to be convicted of things he's not going to be convicted of. And I had to come to kind of just a okay moment in myself that I'm going to grow differently than him. I'm going to have to not watch TV shows that he doesn't feel convicted about. I'm just going to have to walk out of the room. And I can't judge him for that either. Right? Because God's not doing that with him. And that's probably messing with some people's theology right there. But that's real. Like, we really have to say yes, sir, when God is convicting us,
Mm-hmm.
and then not point the finger and say, well, God's probably should be convicting you too.
Mm-hmm.
That's a little bit sticky and hard. It's really hard. But we have to deal with ourselves, just like you said, Josh. It's like, it's all about, what is God dealing with you? What are your beliefs? What are your convictions? Because if it's sin to you, then you need to deal with it. But it doesn't mean we need to point fingers at other people.
Mm-hmm. For instance, my wheelhouse is definitely one-on-one, spontaneous encounters with people that God lines up in front of me constantly, that say something, that triggers something in my mind, that causes me to bring up Jesus in some capacity and help somebody out. I work EMS, and so I get it with some patients. I get it with people in sheets sometimes when they just walk up and start talking to me because I'm in uniform. Like, the most bizarre conversations you could ever imagine on a one-to-one spontaneous basis. And Shelley is definitely called to evangelize to a larger audience. Because we're married, God's kind of called me to do it as well, because one body. However, my wheelhouse is more specific for our guests because I can listen and adapt and ask questions and think through things that she might not consider. Mm-hmm. And so where she has plus at evangelizing, I'm only adding to her ministry.
Come on.
And so by doing so, we are a greater force together in this, even though it is 100% what God has called her to do. He's definitely called me to shut up about complaining about it and add my wheelhouse to her set so that she can be more well-rounded, that she can be a better podcaster, that she can have a better show, that she can have a wider audience that can hear the Spirit of God. And that's the whole purpose of it, right? Is we want to reach people. We want to tell people about the goodness of God. And, I might think of things that she doesn't, and I don't write things down because my wheelhouse is the way God had made me. I don't want to hear it. I want to hear it for the first time, raw and uncensored. I want to hear it when it comes out of your mouth. And then I can say, ooh, I can react to it the only way God made me to do.
Yeah, that's so good. And even as you're here, I'm like, and you bring in so much value to this conversation where it's even having the man perspective, right? We're talking about the wife and stuff, but we still need the man's perspective in this conversation. It's not just about women talking about women. You just bring a lot of value to the conversation, and that's how God intended it.
You're welcome. And I agree completely. And I really savor what God teaches me. And I love the flavor that he brings to the podcast with the different guests and the different conversations. And this season has been predominantly a lot of female contributors with female issues. You know, I like to add my perspective because sometimes we can get lost in the poor me or my spouse is an idiot because, and not really think about the other side of it. You know, your husband isn't deliberately getting up in the morning saying, how can I make her day worse?
Yes.
How can I wreck her?
Right. I was literally just thinking of this conversation, and I think this might really stick to the point with the disappointment and the heartache and what are you believing and all that. So I was really deeply convicted by the Holy Spirit about the dishwasher. And it was not getting loaded correctly. And I would ask, I'm training my kids and they could do it, but my husband would always like willy-nilly it. And
I think it's a husband thing.
okay, this is going to help everybody then. So I'm unloading. Well, no wonder he unloaded it for me, which is abnormal and great, right? I love acts of service. And we're walking around the kitchen and things are in really odd places. Even my kids notice, like, why is this over here? Where is this at? And so he comes in there and okay, let me just give you some context here. So we have those china plates that are like, it's desert rose pattern. So it's got roses on it, right? Like pink and green. And then we also have these plates that are plain red. And we have these other plates that are plain green. And they're the same, they're made of the same manufacturer. So they can go together. They're plain red and green, right? But the flower plates would go with the flower plate. Like there's a whole row for them. And he had mixed them up, the red, green, the flower.
My man.
And I was like, I mean, I was actually getting mad about this. I was like letting earthly issue become a heavenly issue because bitterness was growing up in me. I think I said something like, this is like a kindergarten lesson. Like because I'm homeschooling and I'm like, literally, like I taught my kid this. This was a few years ago. I was like, this is like sorting like items with like items. I literally taught this in your kid's class last week. In kindergarten, I was like, did you not learn in kindergarten how to sort things? And I guess that's pretty mean. I'm like hearing myself back. That is pretty mean. But I just I don't understand. Like literally.
It's simple.
Like, I'm teaching
my
kids.
There was plates.
And all my kids are boys and they figured out how to sort stuff when they helped me unload the dishwasher. And he picked up the plate, and this is really gonna help you, okay? He picks up the plate and he shows me both of them. He says, you see colors, you see patterns, you see this goes with this, and I see a plate.
My
He said,
husband's like, yes, that's it. It's a plate.
He said, this changed my life. So this is why I'm telling you, this is a very memorable moment. He said, all I ever see is a plate. He said, and just like what Josh said, he said, I'm not waking up seeing how I can piss you off. I'm not trying my best to figure out how to disorganize your life and just aggravate you. I just see a plate. Like there is no heart issue behind this. There's no bitterness behind you. I'm never trying to be mean to you, ever. Like it was a really dramatic moment.
Big plate, little plate bowls. There, it's sorted.
And you need to hear this, wives. Like this is real. Maybe not every man thinks this way. There are definitely men who like things organized. I totally get that. But there are men think differently. And we just have to come to the awareness that that's how God made them. And it is okay. It's not wrong. It's not sin. We're calling things that are different sin. And we get bitter about it. And that's where God was correcting me. Because I literally was mad. I was letting the control spirit into my life because I wasn't getting my way. Things weren't being done in my way, in my organized way. And it really didn't matter. It was an earthly issue that became a heavenly issue when I turned it into sin. Yes. And it was just a preference. It was just a preference.
If you've been listening for a while, you know we love sharing stories where God moves in unexpected ways. And lately, I've been hearing some powerful testimonies from people using the X39 patch by LifeWave. It's a little patch about the size of a quarter that uses light to support your body's natural processes. That's it. Nothing goes into your body. No drugs, no injections. It's backed by years of research and designed to promote general wellness. Now, I can't promise results, but what I can say is this. People I trust are using this patented technology, as well as myself. We're loving it and even building an income stream just by sharing it. So if you've been praying for something that aligns with your values, whether that's for your health or your finances, this might be worth exploring. Tap the link in our About section to learn more about X39.
It will shut your spouse down.
Yeah.
I used to tell Shelly after I did things wrong a few times, I would say, look,
Different.
you can.
It wasn't wrong.
No, she would tell me I did it wrong. We've developed new language since. And so I want to be accurate. You know, we weren't the strongest powerhouse in marriage when we first started. We were new. We didn't know. And she would say, hey, I need you to do this. And I would do it, but I wouldn't do it the way she wanted me to do it. So she would correct me and criticize how I did it. And so I stopped doing it. And she would say, hey, do that. And then I would start. And then she would tell me how to do it in the middle of it. And I said, look, no, you either tell me to do it or you tell me how to do it. But if you tell me how to do it, you do it since you already know the best way. And I would just not do it. And I didn't help at all. And that caused a lot of bitterness because I stopped helping in everything because nothing was good enough. So why try? Well, if I'm going to get yelled at if I do it and I'm going to get yelled at if I don't, I'd rather just not waste the energy and have her get mad that she has to do it a second time.
Yeah. Okay, wives, y'all need to hear this. My husband did the same thing. So Josh is not unique. My husband did the same exact thing. He just quit everything. He's like, I can't do anything right. I won't do anything. Mm-hmm. And then I'm mad that he's not helping.
Yeah,
so
especially if
you're
you're acts of service, you know, then you're like, I don't feel loved at all.
And from the man's perspective, we feel that there is no pleasing you. Your expectations cannot possibly be met because you keep moving the goals. And from a woman's perspective, we are dense and uncaring and lazy and whatever else you guys think about us that's horrible. Right? And when I think of it, I think of when you're walking down the aisle with your wife, well, when she's walking down, you're watching her and you have that tear in your eye and you can't imagine life without this woman. How you went from the part where you love this person so much to the part where I am not washing another dish for this person because she's insufferable. Like, how did we get from one to the other so quick? And it's not quick, but it feels like it's quick. It feels like it's, it could be a year and a half into it and you're finally fed up. And it feels like it's been like a week and you're like, what is with her? Why can't she just, and she's thinking, what is with him? Mm-hmm. And communication plays a huge part in this.
Yes, it really does. That's why I say when my husband told me this is just a plate, it's like something snapped in me. And I also needed to hear him say, I'm never trying to be mean to you. And I guess maybe that could be the next part of this conversation is sometimes we hear things and we assume things. So I assumed he was retarded since he couldn't put the plates in the right order. Right. But he's not. He's the smartest guy I know, literally. Genius level smart. And he still couldn't organize the plate. So it didn't make sense. It felt like it was a slight to me. But I want to go about when we assume he's doing something to be mean. So we internalize that, right? We have these internal conversations where we've not voiced out, we've not said what we're thinking, and we could go about it for days, for weeks, where we assume this way that he spoke was so gross, so disrespectful, so he hates me or whatever we're thinking. And we never came to him and asked. Did you ever do that, Shelley? Mm-hmm. And that's when there was a separate conversation where he was like, I am never, ever intentionally being mean. Ever. And so you're going to have to come to me and say X, Y, Z. And this is something that really helps. I teach this to a lot of wives, I say. He cannot read your mind. Mm-hmm. He really can't. And we shouldn't expect him to.
Or don't put thoughts in his head that he didn't even think.
Oh, yeah. I've been in trouble for a conversation that she had with herself. I'd come home from work and she's mad at me before I even get there, because she already had the conversation of what I was going to say back. And so she's already pre-gamed mad for a conversation we didn't even have yet.
And he's like, no, I wouldn't even think that. Why would you think I would think that? Yeah. Then
Like, I'm in the doghouse coming in the door.
That's funny. Well, and I've done that. I've been mad at him for cheating on me in my dream.
Because I just want to kick my wife out of bed sometimes when she's sleeping, just to remind her the man of her dreams can't save her.
But so the whole point of the story is sometimes we just have to say what we're thinking, and we hate it. We hate confrontation. We hate being able to say that out loud. But if we don't, we can't get the lies out to even bring truth to them. Isn't that true of all of our mental conversations, though? We're supposed to take every thought captive and make them obey Christ. But if we're not analyzing them, if we're not taking them to Jesus or maybe to our husband and presenting them, hey, I think this happened. One of the conversations I've having with a couple lately is just basic. Like, can you just go to your spouse and say, this hurt my feelings. My feelings are hurt. But I don't think that you intended to do that. Can you help me just process what you meant by that? And that it just opens up the conversation. And especially it's very humble to say, I don't think you have anything against me. You weren't trying to be mean. And maybe even saying that out loud or in your mind needs to come first, as you have to assume the other person is not really trying to be mean to you. They probably aren't. I don't know many relationships like that. It's usually just what we've created in our mind.
what's really hard is sometimes you have the same conversation over and over and over again for years and nothing gets resolved. And one of the things that helped us was the love and respect seminar. Like, it just opened up language. And so if I'm feeling some type of way, I might say, I'm feeling a little unloved. Did I do something to make you feel disrespected? And then if he's feeling some type of way, he'll say, I'm feeling a little disrespected. Did I do something to make you feel unloved? And then you can take your issue to the table and be like, this is what happened. And then that opens up the conversation instead of the same conversation over and over again.
And my wife, oftentimes when she's upset, speaks disrespectfully toned. And so a lot of things feel very disrespectful, and she's not meaning anything that way. But it sets me on edge. Like, it causes like nails in a chalkboard inside of my spirit. And she has no idea that she's just like running through a minefield. She has no idea. She's no care in the world, just running through it. I'm so triggered. And it takes a lot to just breathe through it and understand that she's not trying to attack me. She's just ignorant that she's in a minefield. She just doesn't know. She can't read German, so she's just running through it. And it takes a big person to breathe. Just breathe.
Yeah.
And concentrate that, hey, this feels like an attack, but you're safe. This is not an attack. You're not being harmed. This is just them venting, and you're the only person they can vent to. And they're mad at one person, and they're disrespectful to one person, but it's sounding disrespectful to you. So you're triggered. As a man, we like respect. We don't die on a battlefield because we love our battle brothers. We do it because we respect them. For us to understand love the way a woman does, like Emerson, for the love and respect, he was about that. You know, we feel respect, and we have a hard time correlating love. Like, we assume our wife loves us until she says, I don't love you. Like, it's like, oh, she's just mad. Of course she loves me. And I think that's why divorce hits men harder, because we don't see it coming at all. We just assume that you loved us until you tell us, hey, no, fam, it's over.
This is such a good point.
And women are all about love and acts of love and acts of service as showing signs of love. They're not, respect is a second. They need respected, but it's a second language. It's secondary. That's not a core need for them. And so
that's right.
One of the things that he went through in his seminar was that when men feel disrespected, they act out in unloving ways. And when women feel unloved, they act out in disrespectful ways.
Wow.
Almost like the original sin caused us to have enmity with each other, because I had the respect and she has the love, and now we're complete as a whole as God intended us to be. And so by doing this cycle of the crazy cycle, or the crazy train, what did he call it? The crazy cycle, where...
It's been years.
Yeah, it's been years. But anyway, it pits us against each other, where she'll be disrespectful and I'll be unloving. And then she'll be more disrespectful, then I'll be even more
Oh,
unloving.
yeah. It's hard to stop that cycle.
And he said it takes the more mature person at the time to
Mhm.
stop it. And so that's why, like, breathe. Just breathe. It's not an attack. Just breathe. She's not trying to attack you.
That's good. The whole time you were talking, I'm thinking about, I don't know, do y'all know who Jimmy Evans is?
Oh,
Yeah, he teaches One Marriage stuff, and he trains on the 4 basic needs of a woman and the 4 basic needs of a man.
Mhm.
And what I like to say is, if you don't know what your basic needs is, and you don't know what his basic needs are, you're not going to be able to live in harmony, basically. And you're not even going to be able to communicate the problem. So I loved how you just communicated. You communicated basically, my basic need is not getting met. Why? And you mentioned one thing, which is probably the disrespected. So I always call it honor. That's how Jimmy had taught us. So the basic needs of a man is honor, sex, friendship, and domestic support. And if you know honor is number 1, then the way that you speak to him, the way that you greet him, the way that you respond to him is really, really important, even though it's not your need, it's his. We have to remember that. We're meeting the needs in the other person that aren't our needs. But also, we need to know what our needs are so we can communicate them. So the basic needs of a woman is leadership, safety, non-sexual affection, and talking. And so just like it's not our need for all the man's needs, the man has to learn how to listen because we like to talk. But it's not a need of him. But he has to learn that about us. So sometimes we just have to articulate, hey, I feel like talking right now. You don't have to say anything. Can you just listen for a minute?
Yeah. You don't need to solve the problem. Just listen.
Uh-huh. And sometimes we need to say, I really have a high need for leadership, but not dominant. I love it when you lead me, but not when you dominate the conversation. Sometimes that needs to be said.
What does
But
leadership and not being dominated look like from the woman's perspective?
Yeah,
Like, what is your
question.
expectation of that
Uh-huh.
leadership over dominance?
Very good, very good. And I would say a majority of men don't even know the answer to that. This is the episode for the woman to really hear, but hopefully the man's listening too. But a woman wants a man to lead spiritually. Number 1,
Yeah.
if she loves Jesus, and generally we're talking to Christians right here. If she loves Jesus, she wants you to lead her to Jesus. She wants you to lead and believe by faith that you already talked to Jesus about the problem and she can just follow you. She wants you to be basically the Moses. You went into the tent and you talked to God, and God said, hey, we're moving across the country. And she's like, yeah, I'll follow you anywhere because I know you're following God. But it doesn't mean dominance means, hey, babe, we're going to move across the country today. I didn't talk to God or nothing about it, but this is what we're doing, period. I don't want to hear what you have to say. I don't want you to talk about this with me. I don't want any confrontation at all. You're just doing what I'm saying.
Mhm.
So
Know your
dominant,
place.
yes. And keep in mind that dominant said you hush. And remember, a woman's one of her 4 basic needs is to talk. So if she can't talk, and obviously she wants to be listened to, she wants to be heard if she wants to talk. Does that make sense? So
Mhm.
you just crushed her basic need if you told her to hush and just do what I say. You see that they don't work together. She can't honor you if you don't also let her talk. So they all work together. And hopefully in all of this, the man is listening to God. We want a man who says, hey, babe, we're going to church today. And yeah, you're going. And we're just like, yeah, we're going. I mean, the woman who loves Jesus is not going to fight back. We're going to be excited that the man said, hey, it's time to pray. Prayer time.
Mm-hmm.
We don't really need a discussion about that. We're excited about that. Hey, let me pray over you. Hey, wife, come here. Let me pray. Oh, like we're surrendering. That doesn't feel like dominance when it's all about like you covering us in the presence of God. But what would feel like dominance would be you telling us what we're going to do and we have no say in it. There's no conversation to be had. We're not partners anymore. You're forcing me to do X, Y, Z. There's times when it felt safe when my husband forced me to do something. Let me give you an example of that and how it didn't feel like dominant. Because number safety is one of the 4 major needs of a woman. And there's times when my husband would say, I remember I was going to go do this thing and it was for work. And he said, you are not going with this person. You are going either alone or I'll go with you, but you are not going with this person. And it's because he knew the dynamics of me and this person. He knew that that wouldn't be healthy for me. It wouldn't be good for the situation, wouldn't be good for work, it wouldn't be anything. And so I felt really safe in him telling me that because he knew it was really good for me and I just needed it. Honestly, I just needed him to set that boundary for me. So it felt good to not even question if I should do this anymore. Because I was questioning. I had brought it to him and he was like, no, this is not happening. It's not going to be good for you. And I was like, oh, it felt like a weight off my shoulder. I didn't have to think about this anymore. I could just follow him. He was not dominating me because it's not like I really wanted to or anything. I just needed. Does that make sense? That was
Little
dominant.
guidance.
That was his leadership.
Yeah,
That
well,
was
in
his.
all honesty, safety of the family, we take precedence over a lot of the other skipping the line on all your other needs.
Exactly.
I will love you and let you speak later, but right now I need to keep you safe.
Yeah. There
This
you
is
go.
non-negotiable.
Exactly.
You don't see the danger.
Right. And so you see how that's not dominance whenever your safety's in play, and it feels like dominance when I don't feel unsafe. Like if
Mhm.
I don't like it when he plans a date and I don't have any say in it. Okay, this might mess with some people. That feels like dominance to me because I want a lot of say in it. That's not true of every woman, though, right? This is a
That's a personal
relational
preference.
thing.
Yeah, some people might
very-
want him to show up with, this is what we're going to do. I need you to
Uh-huh.
dress up in this way so we can go have fun. Everything's taken care of.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, that can go both
Exactly.
ways.
And then other
Yeah.
times
Ex-
it's the wife who needs to plan everything and just say, okay, you're
Mhm.
coming with me.
Uh-huh.
Let's do this together.
And I would hate that because I would feel dominated.
Yeah, you're already
would-
using up all your energy for meal planning throughout the week. Why? Then you have to use it on a date. It's like, come on.
And everybody's different. So this is not applicable to everybody. This is like you need to know your spouse. You need to know your spouse and you need to be able to articulate. This doesn't feel like leadership. This feels like dominance. You need to be able to say that as a wife. And so knowing your 4 basic needs is really important.
I could never just tell my wife we're going on a date somewhere. She has to have input on where we're going for sure. Yeah, because I could say, listen,
Yeah.
and she might be like, I'm not really feeling that today.
I'm always
Uh-huh.
feeling ready for steak, though.
And so if I say, hey, let's go to the Mexican, and she really wanted Olive Garden,
Uh-huh.
she might feel some kind of way because she's got burritos in front of her instead of the tour of Italy. And so, yeah, but again, you're right. You have to know your spouse, and talking to your spouse is a good way to find that things out. Paying attention when you do things. If you see her countenance drop, you probably did something wrong.
Yes.
If you see her smiling and wiggling in her seat, you probably did something right. By not paying attention, you're not doing yourself any favors.
That's so good. I think that we have to learn those subtle cues, and that's where disappointment falls in. We assume that he should know me by now. Can we talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, like the dishes. I love when I have help doing the dishes. And he often used to say, well, just ask. And I'm like, I shouldn't have to ask if you know that's my default setting. Please help with the dishes. And then I don't feel like I'm begging.
And I'm the exact opposite. Well, you should know that my default setting is I need to be told. I don't do hints. Right. And so there's an impasse. Right. She's expecting me to just do it, and I'm expecting her to tell me she needs help.
Yeah.
But then I feel bossy and nagging because I'm asking every single time or, how often. But it's like I shouldn't have to tell you if I've told you for 10 years.
Okay, so this conversation y'all are having is like in every marriage, including mine. I'm like,
I do the
laughing
dishes.
over here.
He does them more often.
It's not a
Praise
problem.
God. And he does great.
But the conversation at the core is you should know what I want. That's what the wife is saying. And the conversation at the core in the man is saying, well, you should also know. I just have to be asked. So it took me way too long to figure that out. I hope like someone who just got married is hearing this conversation. Well, but I remember realizing my husband will do anything I ask, but I do need to ask. I remember I just had that revelation, and I was like, well, for so long, for decades, it was like, I wish I didn't have to ask. This is basic.
Mhm.
It's not basic to him. Just like he was never going to see the flowers on the plate. He only sees a plate. If he sees a need, he'll like if he sees the trash by the door, he'll take it out. But but if he has not been asked or told, okay, here's a good he will do anything to help fix my car, for instance. Like, but he's like, I didn't know the car light was on. You have to tell me. And I was like, well, I mean, it's always on. And he was like, what? And so he doesn't drive my car, just like he's not in my brain. I feel like this is such a great parallel, right?
Mhm.
He needed to know the light was on. And I was like, but it's always on. I've already told you it keeps coming on. He was like, but I already aired the tires and the light was off. So you have to tell me it came back on. And so even though it kept happening, I still had to keep telling him, or he wouldn't realize the tire light itself is broke. It's nothing wrong with the tires. It took so long for us to figure that out with the car. Why? Because I wasn't communicating. I assumed he would know my light was on. I think this is a powerful message right now. Someone is hearing this. Like, we literally have to communicate each time. Hey, babe, it, you know what? One of my things was like, it's literally bedtime for the kids at the same time every night. But guess who has to figure out what time it is? Me. Like, literally every night. "Oh, okay, I'll go start the teeth brushing." He's not gonna start. He's not gonna do it. I don't he doesn't look at the clock. I don't know. It doesn't he doesn't care what time it is. He's like, "We'll put the kids to bed whenever we feel it." And I'm like, "I need to put the kids to go
We need
bed so I can go
structure.
to bed. I need structure. They need structure. Like, we need a bed. We have a bedtime for a reason."
Mhm.
He's never gonna realize that. And you know, when I finally came to the realization, like, "Heather, this is just your job. Just do it." Do you know how much, like, it feels like I'm not bitter about it anymore. I'm not like, there's no weight there. I'm like, "This is just your job." And this is what God told me about the dishwasher. He's like, "Heather, if you like it organized this way, then that's your job." That's not his job. I haven't put that in the Bible. That's not word for word that thus saith the Lord. You put the dishes in the dishwasher. No, and this is I would load in the dishwasher while God was telling me that. He said, "Heather, this will forever be your job if it has to be your way."
You know, one thing that set me free was I just had to be happy that it was loaded. If we
Yeah.
needed more
That's
room,
true.
then I could rearrange it. But just let it
Yes.
go because they're going to get
Yes.
clean as long as they're put the right direction, you know. But
Uh-huh.
but if there was enough room, leave it and then
Exactly.
only organize it to make sense and more room
Yes.
if you needed more
Yes.
room.
I think
That's it.
another issue is men have a higher threshold than women do. When you see something that needs done, that what I see when it needs done takes a lot longer before it
Mhm.
hits that threshold. Like, oh, the trash is full, you take
Mhm.
it out. Like, I could put more in that. Right. You know, honestly, I remember coming home
Yeah.
from work when I used to work oil and gas, and Shelly was a stay-at-home mom, and she was raising our little man and doing a great job of it. And I would come home and she would literally be in tears about not completing a task, or I didn't get anything done today. I didn't clean. I didn't put this away. I didn't do laundry. And I'm working like 12, 14 hours at work, and I come home, and that's the first thing I come home to is her telling me all the things that she lacked. And I'm like, are you alive? Is our son alive? Are you fed? Are you warm? Okay, I don't care. And that's a
Mhm.
concept she couldn't understand. I didn't see the mess that she saw. I didn't see the dirty dishes like she saw them. I didn't see a dirty house. I came home to a nice house, a warm house, an inviting house with my son and my wife. I didn't see what she saw.
Mhm. Mhm.
What I saw was I saw my family alive and happy to see me. Well, somewhat happy. She
Mhm.
was upset she didn't do anything. Okay. And I never asked her to. I never asked her. I never told her that
I
while I'm
had
at work,
expectations of myself.
you had to maintain everything because I'm working. You should too. I never once imparted that on her.
Mhm.
Right. That was her own expectation, biting herself. And so because I have a higher threshold, I could walk in
Mhm.
and there could be a piece of paper on the floor. I will walk by it and not even notice the
Mhm.
paper. And she will look at me like
Mhm.
I am blind in one eye and I have a
Mhm.
cataract over the other. Like, how do you
Mhm.
not see it? I'm like, see what? because that's not where I'm looking. She sees a whole big picture. When she sees a room, she sees
Yeah.
the room. When I see the room, I see an individual thing at a time.
Mhm.
Right. And usually it starts with where my direction is. Why did I go in this room? I go to this room with it. I want to get something off the desk. I see the desk when I walk in the room, and I go to that desk. Peripherally, I see things that don't belong. So if something is out of place, I'll notice it pretty much right away. Like if there's danger in the room, and then I'll hone in on that. But for the most part, I'm pretty safe in my home. And so I just focus on the desk. I go to the desk, I grab the thing I need, and I leave. And she'll like, did you not notice the garbage was knocked over? I'm like, I didn't even know there was a garbage in that room.
Very good. I'm loving this conversation.
Want to go back to, I was listening to your podcast because it's amazing. Even
Oh,
the title, Dealing with Grief. I don't have any grief, but I listen to it anyway because it has other things in it. And I'm like, oh, this is so good.
One
And
could argue I give you grief.
but so some of the things that we can do is, of course, give it to God and then pray for him. But then another thing is declare the man you want to see. And so I took a screenshot of some declarations like, the truth is that God says this is a man of, peace. He is a mighty man of God. He is a leader and all this stuff that you want to see. So you just declare it over him and treat him as if, and then he will rise up to that, what you want to see.
That unsaid expectation.
Mhm.
You just surrender and let God work it out. Just believe for
That's
it.
so good.
I think that's a
Yeah.
timing thing because, again, you don't know what we're working on.
Mhm.
We don't always look at our wife as a safe space to talk about the things that we're working on. Mostly because you're not a man and how could you understand what we're working on?
Mhm.
And sometimes the wife can say or do things that cause us to not want to open up to the wife because we've been disrespected in areas and we're afraid that you'll mock us and disrespect us again. So why would we bring it up? And so I think the timing is while you're praying for these things that God is laying on your heart is because he's already aligned the timing up with when he's being healed so that you see that this manifestation of your declarations appearing at the same time that God has worked on his heart because God is amazing and because he sees all the picture all the time. Like he doesn't just look at your side of it. He looks at the other side of the coin as well. And he's so perfect how he matches that together. And so obviously when you do that, you have a higher faith now that God is hearing your prayer and responding to your prayer. And he has a higher faith now because he's also seeing the same things. I think it's just a beautiful way that God marries the merging of us together in his light.
Yeah. So good. I feel like you were trying to end the conversation on what can the wife actually do. And what you said was perfect. We can start declaring what we do want. Be careful of what you're saying and how you're saying it. Be careful of how you're communicating your needs. Be careful of how you're communicating how you're feeling. And don't hold back from communicating it because they really don't know what you're thinking. And start praying. There's some really good books with prayers in them. Thinking about Stormy, she's got a lot of books about praying for like the power of the praying life. There's actually some really powerful prayers in that book I've highlighted. I've got ear tagged and it just sits in my prayer closet. Whenever I'm ready to pray for my husband, I'm like, well, which prayer are we praying today? That's just a great resource just to have ready. Pray the prayers that you need now, but also pray for things that you haven't even considered, like, generations to come, your children, because your husband is showing them. He's showing the children what to do. And yeah, I think this has been just such a beautiful conversation of realizing you got to assess the situation. You got to decide what am I believing about this? And I think you have to assess the consequences of staying where you're at and not having the conversation, not having the confrontation. Confrontation is not a bad word. It always has like negative connotations, but confrontation basically just means you're confronting a negative belief or you're confronting, I believe that you intended to hurt my feelings. Just saying it out loud so that you can like laugh at the lie. Probably not true.
Yeah, further evidence that the men are not trying to kill you or hurt your feelings deliberately with the things we say is that when we come home, you are our safe place. You are the place that we can put our guard down from the rest of the world. And so while I'm on guard at work against other people that say things that aren't Christian, that introduce things, and I see things in people's houses that are horrid, that you are the safe place for me. I don't need to be attacked. I don't need to feel unsafe. I don't need to feel in a way that somehow you're judging me or you have an expectation that's higher than I'm able to reciprocate. And so, making the home a safe place for me, like you're supposed to be the peace at the end of the tunnel. You're not supposed to be my adversary when I get back. And again, I'm not saying you are, but it could be construed that way in our minds when we feel a certain type of way.
Mhm.
And so some men don't open up because they don't feel safe because they're still on guard like they are the rest of the world, and they bottle things in. I'm going to tell you that man is not unsalvageable. That man is not unfixable.
Mhm.
The same care and listening that you want him to perform with you is the same care and listening you need to do for him. And understand that he will sit for 4 hours and not say a word to you. But when he does, it'll be more profound than if he has spoke for 4 hours straight.
Mm. Come on.
Just say
Wow.
we are sensitive. We do have feelings. Our feelings can get hurt. We just don't show them like women. We like to just harden up like the Pharaoh's heart. And it's a defense mechanism to protect us from external things that seek to destroy us.
Wow.
Women are very open about that. But if you have a woman that gets so hurt that she hardens up, she's really broken.
Yep.
And if you can't recognize that sign, you're the problem.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I've been around some where my husband's like, that person, or that she's talking about a girl, man, she's so bitter and nasty. And I thought to myself, yeah, if you only knew her husband.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It goes hand in hand. Goes hand in hand. Wow. Great conversation, Shelley. Thank you for bringing this topic to the forefront.
Thank you for your time and sharing everything that you have shared with us. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for your stories of your expectations, your life stories, the plate. Profound. That's like, as soon as you were saying, I was telling my wife, is because it was sorted. It was sorted by plate. And then you said, because he looked at it, because it's a plate. And I'm making a face. I'm like, yes.
It is sorted.
It is. Although I also understand the different color sorting. I get that. I understand that. And that wouldn't be a stumbling block for me. But I can see how it would be for others, because my first instinct was sorted. It's sorted by a plate. I understood where he came from immediately. Immediately. And so everyone is different, and everyone's in different walks. Like, I never had to worry about putting the toilet lid down because I'd heard my dad get yelled at it my entire life. I never had to get yelled at about it. And to me, it's a non-issue in our house. Who cares? You know what I mean? If it causes her happiness, it is one of the least of the things that I can possibly do. No toilet humor aside, thank you so much for your encouraging words. Thank you so much for your open mind, and thank you so much for helping women to achieve a better marriage by self-reflection and praying for their husband.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. That's what does it. Self-reflection. We can only really change ourselves with the power of the Holy Spirit. We can pray through and notice all of this stuff was really dealing with, I needed to deal with my own expectations and disappointment. And along the way, our marriage got so much better because I got healed.
Well, listener, I hope this has been a blessing to you. You had fun in the conversation like we did. And we ask that you share it with somebody so it can bless them as well. And don't forget to rate this podcast, because then it can go out to more people, and then more people can hear of God's goodness, all for his glory. And tune in next week, because we have the second part of this Healing Marriage series, and we'll talk about all things for the men, and it's going to be great. So tune in for that, and we'll talk to you next week. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. Listen, let's stay connected. Come follow us on all the socials at God's Goodness Podcast, where you can find the latest and say hey. It's a really great way to stay in touch. Many of you have asked how you can support the show. You can make donations through any of the links in the About section, or of course by praying for us, as well as sharing and rating and reviewing on Facebook, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Your heartfelt feedback always reminds us why we do this. Until next time, remember, God is always working, miracles are real, and your breakthrough could be just around the corner. Keep believing, keep expecting, and don't forget to share this with someone who needs hope today. We'll talk to you next week.